Simon Harris has come out and says he's going to pass the hate speech bill. Well, an amended version of the hate speech bill. And this is where the political landscape is in Britain and Ireland and the West in general. You have all these different leaders bringing in all these hate speech bills right at the exact same time. And just like the mass migration into all countries around the West, I don't find that a coincidence. So before we get into this Gript Media article, I really have to say this, that for the people that are sitting on the fence with this, that don't want to maybe put themselves forward or, have a social media post about this or even go against the narrative in this, because I know a lot of people watch me. I get a lot of comments and I get a lot of text messages behind the scenes with people who don't want to come forward because it's quite a negative situation. You need to know this. For me to take you off that fence, I'm going to provide you proof, evidence, because that's what a lot of people need. They want evidence. Well, the evidence to all of this is in the United States of America, in Scandinavia, in Britain, and in Ireland, and Europe, at the exact same time, there is a mass migration of people coming out of Africa and into these countries and the Middle East. And at the exact same time, there is these countries bringing in hate speech laws and hate speech bills, and all the leaders are singing off the same song sheet. So that should be proof to you that this isn't a coincidence, that there's something going on. When any country tries to legislate speech and they try to tell you you can't say that word, no matter how bad that word is, that is the start of tyrannical rule, because it just doesn't stop there. They add to them. They add to the protected characteristics. They add to everything. So, for instance, for an example, if they bring in a hate speech bill where you can't say a certain thing, then what's to say in 2 years' time they add something else to the protected characteristics, add something else to the hate speech bill? Maybe in a couple of years' time, they add the government to that, where you can't criticize the government and their policies. That's the dangers that we're going into. Harris, we're going to pass the hate speech bill. The government is going to pass an amended version of the hate speech bill before the next general election, Taoiseach Simon Harris has insisted. Speaking in RTE today with Claire Byrne, the Fine Gael leader said he had decided to pass the bill before March 22nd, 2025, the last possible date a general election could be held legally. I have made a decision that we are going to pass a law in this space. I'm very clear on that, he said. Hate crime is not a pretend crime. It's a very real thing. I want to be tough on law and order, and I support the Gardaí. That means supporting the Gardaí in pursuing all crimes, including hate crimes. So let's just break down what he said there. He wants to be tough on law and order. So to be tough on law and order, you would crack down on criminal behaviour. Now, what I'm seeing in Ireland and the West in general, I'm not actually speaking to Simon Harris here in particular, I'm talking about the West in general with all their leaders, is that they're being very lenient on crime. And adding to the laws isn't cracking down on law and order. You're creating more problems. So the objective here for Simon Harris and, say, the globalists, he's just one of the little puppets, the little, rat boys that are working for the globalists, is to not crack down on crime, because they actually prefer some crime like fentanyl. Fentanyl has hit the streets of Ireland. Fentanyl has hit the streets of the United States of America, England, the West, and it's one of the most destructive drugs in the world. Now, the only reason fentanyl can arrive into a country if a country has an open door policy, if you allow criminal gangs to operate in that country. Simon Harris hasn't spoke about that. He doesn't care, because he is preferring some crimes over another. Actually, he's making crimes up to persecute against people. So he's saying this is going to be an amended version of the hate speech bill. What does that mean? So you're trying to speak to everybody. And I need just to know this. This is where you are winning. The fact he used the word amended means that he understands the political space of Ireland right now. He understands the majority of Ireland do not support him. And he needs to amend the hate speech bill to accommodate the people who actually hate it. So what he should really do is say, look, I'm getting rid of this completely, and I don't want this, because the people of Ireland have spoken. 3/4 of Ireland keeps coming out to the protests every single time, and they're against everything that we're doing. So I have to listen to the people, and I have to execute my laws accordingly to the people, because at the end of the day, it's the people that have asked me to rule. I'm here because of the people. But he didn't do that. but you're still winning because you don't see the Scottish Prime Minister saying we need to amend it. You don't see all other leaders around the world that have brought in hate speech bills. You're not hearing them say, well, we need to amend this to sort of accommodate to the people who actually hate this. But Ireland has. Ireland right now is in the forefront. The Irish people are in the forefront of the fight for fighting for the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, and their basic freedoms. There's nobody else in the world, not even the Americans, the Australians, all across the world. Ireland, the Irish people, once again, find themselves in a situation where they're showing the world this is how it's done. Unfortunately for the Irish people, this isn't being televised. There's only very few people speaking about this. Grip Media, the Irish Independent, a little bit, a couple of English newspapers. But realistically, the rest of the world doesn't realize that the Irish people are in the forefront. We're in the battlegrounds. We've went past no man's land and we're on the front line fighting for freedom of speech. Nobody in the world is doing this. So you're winning because he said amendment. He wants to amend the hate speech bill because he understands how tyrannical it was in the beginning. Now, there's lots of people in Fine Gael and other political parties that supported the hate speech bill that have went against it. Why are they going against it now? Because they realize it's damage limitation. But they're still working for the globalists, so they still need to bring this hate speech bill in. Now, there's reasons why the hate speech bill is really being brought in. There's real reasons for that. Maybe I don't know if I'll speak about that now, or maybe I'll speak about that in a different video. But there's actual real reasons for it. And just to hint on that and to give you a bit of insight, it's not to protect protected characteristics. It's to silence you from speaking the truth, especially when it comes to the alphabet people and what certain things are promoted around kids. Medications that change your body, that type of thing. They want you stop speaking about that because there is a demonic underbelly to all of this. You need to know that. So we're winning. He wants to amend it. You need to keep going further where he says, right, I need to scrap this. If Simon Harris comes out in the next couple of months saying we're scrapping the hate speech bill, that is a massive win, not just for Ireland, but for the rest of the world, because that will give the rest of the world the courage and the motivation to go, you know what? Ireland done it, so we're going to do it. They're not going to report on it, but there's going to be people like me and many people have better YouTube channels than me that are going to come out and make videos about it to inform the general public from around the world. Ireland has done this. So we need to keep going. You need to keep fighting politically. You need to keep doing this because you're winning. He's came out, he's backtracked and said, we're going to amend this. We're going to change the protected characteristics. We're going to protect free speech, but at the same time, protect these people, alphabet people and whatever, whoever else is a protected characteristic. I don't want anybody to be horrible onto anybody, but to have full freedom of speech. All speech cannot be, some speech cannot be shut down. All speech needs to be open. That's the way free speech works. Once you take away any type of speech, it's a slow progression to full-blown tyranny. And that's what you're seeing here, and that's what the fight is against. But you're winning because he says he's going to amend it. So let's go one further. Let's make him scrap it completely. So Scotland rises up, England rises up, America rises up, the rest of the world rises up and goes, I can't believe Ireland done that. Once again, Ireland has shown us what they're about. This is the real definition of the fighting Irish. When it comes, people say the fighting Irish is not just about fists and Guinness and whiskey. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about systematically ripping down the wrong and being okay with being persecuted against, being called all the names. Because if you let's call a spade here. You want to have protected characteristics. You want to crack down on crime. Okay, well, let's talk about hate speech. Look what the Irish nationalists have to go through on a daily basis. The constant barrage of terrible names being put upon them. They don't care. They're willing to accept that type of persecution and that type of bigotry because they understand they find themselves in a space where they're right and the other side is clearly wrong. The patients have taken over the asylum. That's what you're seeing here in regards to Ireland. And to really crack down on crime is to acknowledge the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people that have came into Ireland with no passport, no identification, Simon. You've given them an Irish ID card. I've already called out Helen McEntee on her lie. She says, well, they can't, they, uh, they can't come into Ireland unless they prove who they are, even if they don't have the correct documentation. How are they supposed to prove who they are if they don't have the correct documentation? Do you see where she lied to you there? That's cracking down on crime. What about political crime? What about conflicts of interest? Helen McEntee and her husband. Her husband works for a pharmaceutical company that sells hormone blockers, predominantly to children. He's on the marketing team for that, while she's advocating for a hate speech bill, which will inhibit me from speaking about what he's selling. What about calling out that type of conflict of interest and saying we're not going to have this? What about the fact that every type of criminality is shot through the roof since Ireland has opened its borders? What about that type of criminality? No, Simon Harris isn't here to crack down on criminality. He's adding to the laws. So then what they understand is once the hate speech bill is executed and it's live, then what they do is then there's going to be people who were once not criminals, now criminals under the eyes of the law. So you're creating more problems when there's already problems there. Drugs, crime, Harry Yippens through the roof. Every type of crime's through the roof. Children aren't safe in the street. Children are being stabbed in Ireland by foreigners. So think about that. Think about that. There's so much crime to crack down on, Simon. Why are you adding to the laws to make more crime about words? You're basically criminalizing words. Ireland doesn't need that. You're adding to the problem. So that's where the Irish people stand on things. That's where Simon Harris is a clown. That's where Ireland and its so-called opposition are a bunch of clowns. And you need to be voting for independent parties to come in here to rule Ireland fully and properly. That's the end of the video, guys. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Leave a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think. I've changed the Buy Me a Coffee link to a PayPal link. And the reason for that is I don't really like Buy Me a Coffee. I know that it takes less of a percentage. I don't know. Something tells me I just don't trust it. I don't like it. I don't like the way it operates. I don't like the app. So I've changed that to a PayPal link. If there isn't a PayPal link, the Buy Me a Coffee link will still be there. That means I wasn't able to get the PayPal link just yet, but it'll be there. If you want to donate to the channel, thank you very much for everybody that's done that. There's a lot of people that have bought me a coffee on the Buy Me a Coffee. Erica, I'll actually give a thank you to Erica, who has bought me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coffees. Thank you very much, Erica. I appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, if you want to go follow me in the free speech platforms, the links can also be found in the description and the comment section. And make sure to share too, guys. Share, because sharing is caring and spreading the word is good. I mean, the amount of shares I get is phenomenal. These are beautiful people. Thank you very much for doing that. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Peace.